okay? And we committed to be together for 3 years. We do 2 retreats a year, and then we do 1 Zoom call a month, and then they text me nonstop, okay? And so it could be about anything, and I will return some of those. So it's less practical, and it's much more personal, if that makes sense to you. So we don't spend a whole lot of time. We're not supposed to spend a whole lot of time diagnosing church problems and helping people fix that, even though that's where it ends up. It's really supposed to be less about what you're doing as a pastor and much more about how you're doing as a person. And so we're really spread out. So I have a friend in D.C., somebody's in Indianapolis, somebody's in Oregon, and then someone's down in Houston. And so this past week, we're in Indianapolis. I'll show you just 2 pictures real quickly, just so you can see some of the guys here. We went to a hockey, that's me in the loser sweatshirt right there. Yeah, okay. There we are. So, and one of our guys had a family emergency, so he couldn't come with us this week, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the people I'm hanging out with. So listen, Monday, when I stepped off of the plane in Indianapolis, it was 40 degrees. And so I pull up my weather app, and I'm looking like, I wonder what's happening back home, and it was 82 degrees, okay? And so I look, wow, I really wish I was here instead of that. So here's what happened. Last year, so we do these retreats like in the fall and early spring, and so it's either too hot in Houston or it's too cold anywhere else, all right? So last year, I said, why don't you guys come down here to coastal Georgia? That's always my pitch, okay? And so I ended up hosting both of those retreats last year, and here was my entire pitch. Let me tell you about it, okay? It was this. Listen, I know that the ocean is awesome, okay? I know that we can have dinner right here and look out over, the Atlantic, and I know the islands are awesome. I know that biking on them is awesome, okay? I know that you don't, okay? So here's my whole sales pitch, okay? I think that all of you should come down here and just see it for yourself. Okay, that's my whole sales pitch. Has anybody else ever done that one before? Like when we moved to the East Coast, 30 whatever, years ago, that was my whole pitch to my family. Hey, you just got to come out here and see everything for yourself, right? Come see all the spots, and in the end, okay, I think you'll actually come to see what I see, and you might actually love it the way that I love it too, okay? And you've done this before with a lot of other things in your life. Like you share things with other people that you enjoy. You talk about the things that you've actually found to be pretty helpful. You invite people to experience things that you love and care about with the hopes that they're going to love and care about it. Or at least you're going to say, okay, listen, it might be what you're actually looking for. And you'll come to love it too, right? It's like we believe that all it might take is an invitation to somebody to say, listen, why don't you just come and see for yourself? Listen, that's what I want to just encourage you with the next 2 weeks. That's it. It's going to be very, very simple. We're going to look at 2 encounters with Jesus from the Gospel of John. And I just want to say it this way. What if, and some of us want it to be this way, what if talking about your faith or talking about Jesus, okay, John chapter 1, that's where I'm going to be today. Next week, Matt's going to teach from us from John chapter 4. Here we go. I'll walk through the story. We'll talk about the simple next step. All right, John chapter 1, I'm starting in verse 35. The next day, John was standing with 2 of his disciples. And we have to hit pause right there for a second because this is a really, really crucial moment. John, we're talking about the guy we know of as John the Baptist, okay? Cousin of Jesus, very important dude. His entire life purpose was to tell Jewish people that the Messiah, the Christ, Jesus, is here, okay? He's coming, and now he's actually here. And so John has just recently baptized Jesus. That just happened as Jesus' statement to say, okay, I want to start fresh. I want to make a commitment to the ministry and the mission that God has placed in front of me. And John keeps calling people to turn to God. Hey, just keep turning to God, okay? John has his own followers, and he's baptizing them. And all of these people had heard growing up, okay, about the Messiah. We've heard about this for centuries. And the Messiah is going to come and save the day, and he's going to restore the nation. He's going to bring the kingdom of God. We just talked about that. So John looks up, and he sees Jesus, and it says, when he saw Jesus passing by, he said, look, the Lamb of God. Now, in Jewish religion, right, the entire Old Testament, go read it. This is the way all these guys grew up, right? The way that you paid for your sins was to get this perfect lamb, have it slaughtered, take it to Jerusalem, right? Sprinkle the blood around the temple. Someone would do this for you. And it temporarily covered all of your sins. So John is looking up and he's going, okay, there he is. Right there. That's the guy, right? We all knew it one day, right? God would actually send the chosen one, the ultimate sacrifice, the connection back to God. We sin. He takes the punishment once and for all. There he is, okay? He's the one that's going to do it. It goes on. The two disciples heard him say this and followed Jesus. Okay, so the two guys are going to be a different guy by the name of John, okay, the guy who's actually writing this story, and then a guy named Andrew, and they start following Jesus. Now, I just got to tell you, based on the rest of the story, I don't think that they actually believe in Jesus yet, but they trust John the Baptist, okay? They're curious. So it says, when Jesus turned and noticed them following him, he asked them, what are you looking for? This is what I said last week. Like, I just want to know his tone. Like, how did you ask that? Like, how does it sound when he turns around and goes, hey, what are you looking for? Okay. Now, you got to understand, okay, Jesus isn't just asking a question like, hey, what do you want? Are you guys lost? Okay. He asks the question. Please don't miss this. He asks the question, which is essentially, hey, what do you want in life? Like, what is it that you're really searching for? What are you looking for? What is it that you're hoping for? Because, listen, we all know this to be true, right? We're all looking for something, essentially, okay? I'm looking for a good time. We might just say I'm looking for satisfaction. I'm looking for, I don't know, love, purpose. I'm looking for meaning. I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for forgiveness, okay? But how amazing that the person who can actually answer the deepest question is the one asking. Hey, what is it that you're really looking for? See, what they wanted, okay, we know this, was to just follow Jesus around for a while. Like, we just want to see what's going on. We just want to check him out. They wanted to know, okay, are you the guy? And once the one we've been waiting for, but they fumbled it, okay? They totally botched it, and they responded with, Rabbi, which means teacher, well, where are you staying? Okay. And here's Jesus' response, short and to the point. Come and you'll see. Just come, you'll see, okay? Listen, if you want to know, then just come and see for yourself. Like, if you want to know if I'm really the answer to everything, you can't just read about it, okay? You can't just hear it from someone else. You can't just maybe learn it in the way that you think you can. You have to come and actually see for yourself. So, verse 39, so they went and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day, and it was 4 p.m, okay? So again, this is just pretty amazing to me. Like, this is one of those stories where I just pause for a second and I try to go into that situation because John and Andrew just hang out with Jesus for the day. And for me, like, I want to know, what did they do? Like, what did they talk about, you know? Did Jesus crack jokes? I don't know. Did he do any miracles? Like, what's the conversation about? What did they talk about? But we don't get any inside info about that, just this, okay, in 39 or 40. Andrew, okay, he had a brother, Simon Peter. Okay, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, we've heard of him probably, was one of the two who heard John and followed him. Okay, so you got Andrew, you got John. They take their very first steps of following Jesus that will launch them into the next 3 years of following Jesus, and they're going to sit under his teaching. They're going to see his miracles. They're going to see how he interacts with people, how he treats people, how he loves people, what he really cares about. They're going to witness his death. They're going to be there post-resurrection. Verse 41, we're talking about Andrew, okay, the first thing he did that day, found his own brother Simon and told him, we found the Messiah, which is translated the Christ, and he brought Simon to Jesus. Okay, Andrew's brother, Simon Peter, okay? Someday he's going to be famous. After this, he's going to get all of the headlines. He's going to get most of the attention, okay? He's going to walk on water. He's going to deny Jesus. He's going to stand up and preach the very first sermon in the first church. And something's triggered in Andrew, okay, after spending the day with Jesus to say, okay, let me find someone to tell. Okay, Jesus, I'll be right back. Let me step out for a second. Hey, Peter, listen, I've been hanging out with Jesus for the last few hours. As a matter of fact, we spent the whole day together. I know it's going to sound a little crazy, but maybe, listen, I think we found the guy. So whatever happened, okay, with Jesus and Andrew was enough that he just wants to share it with Peter. And when you see what is recorded in the conversation, he doesn't force it. He's not anxious about it. It's not scripted, okay, nothing like that. It's just natural. Hey, listen, I was down at the river with John, you know, the guy who's baptizing. He told us about Jesus. I've been hanging out at his place all day. It's been amazing. I think he's the one. You should check it out. 42, so Andrew brings Peter to Jesus, and when Jesus saw him, he said, "You are Simon, son of John," that's what we need, another John. "You'll be called Cephas," which is translated Peter. So I don't know how this goes down. Your name is Simon? Yeah? I don't like that. How about Peter? Okay. How about Peter, okay? And Peter, you know, okay, they have this moment together, right? And it's Jesus kind of looking really like beyond him, beyond his name, beyond the exterior. He's looking like deep inside of him to go, hey, listen, I know who you are, and you don't know this yet, but there's going to be so much more to you. Like there's going to be so much more to your life. Listen, Peter's a hothead. He's got a temper. He in a few years, Jesus is saying, but you're going to be solid as a rock. Jesus gives him this name that literally means solid or rock. And as an aside, can I just throw this in here? Jesus identified Peter not by who he was in that moment, but by who he would become. And some of you need that. Some of you need to know that who you are right now is not who you will be eventually when you're with Jesus. Like some of you have a friend who needs that kind of future hope, that with Jesus, man, we could be someone different than we are right now. So at the end of the day, Peter decides to follow Jesus too. Verse 43. The next day, okay, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee, so he's leaving town. And he found a new guy named Philip and told him, "Follow me." Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the hometown of Andrew and Peter. So likely they're friends in some way. They at least know each other. They went, I don't know, they played sports together. I think something likely precedes this conversation because that's a really big jump. But Jesus just says, hey, Philip, why don't you just jump in with us, okay? Let's go, all right? You're with us. Now, Philip has had a very, very short amount of time to process everything, okay, to figure out who Jesus is. But it says the very first thing he does, Philip found Nathanael and told him, hey, we found the one, okay? We found the one that Moses wrote about in the law, right? The prophets, all the Old Testament. Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth. Again, just understand what's happening right here, okay? The first thing he does is to tell his friend Nathanael, dude, we found the guy. We found the guy, right? The one we've always studied in school. The guy that the entire Old Testament is actually written about. That guy from the little hick town down the road, right? Nazareth. The one we all make fun of. I think it's him. Like little Jesus with the crazy mom. The whole virgin birth thing turns out it might be true, okay? His dad owned the carpentry shop, right? Like who knew? See, Nathanael's wired differently. We'll see that in a second. Skeptical, he's a little argumentative. And he says, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Now, I did this years ago, okay? And I picked a town in Georgia, by the way. I Googled it, and I was like, what's the worst place to live in Georgia? And I came up with this name. I was like, nobody lives there. Swainsboro. And at the end of the service, 3 people came to me and go, hey, I grew up there. I said, I'm so sorry. I'll not do that again, okay? But Nazareth, okay, you got this backwards, I didn't know, okay, country hick town. And he's like, come on, man, there's nothing good about that place. And it maybe even is a little bit of a racist perspective that he has here. Okay, hey, we found the king of all kings, okay, the one. He's a carpenter from Alabama, whatever you want to say. And Nathanael goes, really? That can't be possible. And what I want you to do is to see what Philip doesn't do. In that moment, he doesn't respond and tell him he's stupid for not believing it. Okay, he doesn't try to argue with him. Maybe that's from experience, okay? He just knows Nathaniel's this way. He doesn't try to fight back. He doesn't just say, okay, you're lost, I tried. By the way, I know some of you think you did this, but you didn't do this. You have never argued so well that you checkmated someone into following Jesus. Okay? No one's ever told me, hey, how'd you end up here? Well, I got in an argument with my friend, and he was too convincing, and that's why I'm here in church. It's never happened. What he does do is offer 3 simple words. Dude, come and see. Man, just come and see, Philip answered. And it wasn't really Philip's job, okay, to do anything more than just invite him in. I mean, it's literally one friend kind of rolling up alongside of another friend going, listen, man, if you could see what I see, if you could hear what I hear, if you could feel what I feel, if you can learn what I'm learning, if you could get in a room like this one and be exposed to a little bit of Jesus, maybe, you might follow him too. All right, review. Jesus says to Andrew, all right, why don't you just come and see what I'm all about? Andrew says to Peter, probably the closest man in his life, hey, I found something good. Why don't you just come and see it for yourself? Jesus says to Philip, hey, why don't you come and follow me and see what's going on? Philip says to Nathaniel, I think you got to come and see this for yourself. Nathaniel pushes back with, well, why do you think it's so good? Andrew invites Peter. Philip invites Nathaniel. They've been following Jesus for a grand total of how long? 1 day, okay? At best, they're probably curious. They're intrigued. It's not for a while that they all actually say, okay, Jesus, you're actually really the Christ. It takes them a while to get there. In this moment, I'm going to say they had an idea. They had an inkling. Okay? They had enough info to say, he's different, it's better, we should stay with him. Eventually they go, okay, I'm convinced he's the one. So let's just take a time out for a second, okay? Let's do a little break and do an assessment, okay? And I want you to try to just picture maybe how this would work, either across the stage here or out there in the room. But if all the way over here we have, okay, I don't know Jesus. I maybe don't have interest in Jesus, or I don't know anything about him, or, I'm at the 0 over here on this side of the room. And then all the way over here on this side of the room, we have, hey, I feel like I found the one, and I'm following Jesus, and I'm in, and because the rest of my life is going to go that direction, and I'm actually inviting other people to find and follow Jesus, okay? 0, nothing, not interested, to, man, I found him, I'm following him, and I want other people to find him and follow him, okay? Somewhere between these 2 points, we have an encounter with Jesus, okay, a moment of decision. So maybe you can kind of picture that line there. Here's a simple question. On which side of the encounter with Jesus do you find yourself? Okay, if we were to do a little exercise and say, here's the line, draw an X where you are, okay? On which side of the encounter with Jesus do we find ourselves? Let me give you 2 statements, okay? 1, I am invited by Jesus to come and see him for myself. That's an all play. You are invited by Jesus to come and see him for yourself. You're spending time with you're here right now, okay? You're spending time around and with Jesus. You're asking, okay, is he who he says that he is? Is he the one? You're asking questions, right? And some of us are unsure. Listen, we regularly hold this out every week around here, right? There's room for you to explore, to keep looking to take the next step that's actually right in front of you, and keep leaning in to see for yourself, okay, the truth about Jesus. Keep digging in. And for some of us, it might take a little bit of time to see that. I've had conversations with some of you. You're like, man, it just feels a little risky. I'm really vulnerable. I'm putting myself out there a little bit. And so many of you have been honest about this and how you're taking steps to see. Can I just say, I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you for taking some of those courageous steps. So keep taking them. Most of us start exploring Jesus because it's likely that we have become aware that we're searching for something, Or we would at least say, hey, I'm searching for something more, okay? Like the questions in your life are actually leading you to him, whether you know that or not. And so we just come and see if Jesus isn't the answer to the questions that you're asking. Okay? But there comes a point, okay, where you have enough information, right? Or you have enough experience to decide, okay, is he or isn't he? One marker, and I'm not going to say it's the only one, but one marker in the journey for most of us will be baptism. So last Sunday morning, we baptized somebody in a service. That night, we had our Rooted celebration. 3 other people decided to take the step of baptism. At least 3 more people are actually going to take that step today, and it's something that we celebrate around here all the time. It's not the only thing. It's a marker, okay? And the marker is you got a date. Like you got a date on the calendar where you did it and people were here and you signed the wall out there in the lobby where you accepted the invitation to actually come and see for yourself, and I found it, okay, and now I'm committed to following, okay? There's that table in the lobby, baptism table. If you got questions, if you're ready to take this step, that's where you should go, okay? But you have actually come and you have seen. You have found and you're now following, okay? And a lot of this story takes place from this point on, okay? So I'm going to leave that behind for now, and we're going to go forward, because when you have found and start to follow Jesus, okay, you want other people to find and follow Jesus. So over here we have, okay, I am responsible to invite others to come and see him for themselves. If way over here is, okay, I'm invited to come and see Jesus for myself, well, now that I've found and I'm following, I move over here and go, oh, I'm responsible, okay, to invite others to come and see him for themselves. And the rest of our time I want to spend here. And if you go, well, I don't know, is that me or not? Listen, if you believe in Jesus, you have, quote, found him and you are following him, I want to challenge you to start to believe that the most loving thing you can do for someone that you actually love and care about is to use 3 simple words and invite them to come and see. That's it. See, you and I should always be thinking about the one. Right? Who is that one in my family or my friend group, in my neighborhood, in my life that God keeps putting into my heart, on my heart, or actually literally keeps putting into my path, and they do not yet know if Jesus is the one? So as a church staff, our pastors and our staff, we have a Monday morning check-in where we do a couple of very simple things, okay? We just talk about the wins. That's a simple question. Hey, tell me where you saw some winning last week. And what we mean by that is, where did you see people taking next steps? Or where did you see the mission actually be accomplished? And we'll just share stories for, as long as we have them. And then we will talk about, important things on the calendar that are coming up immediately. And then something we started doing a while back, we'll start having a person share about their one. Okay, so you tell me, who's your one? Like, who is the one that God's placed on your heart or God has actually placed in your path? And because, listen, and we'll pray over all that, because, listen, I always want us to be asking the question of ourselves and not just of you all. Right? That's going to be true about anything that we teach around here. When we talk about, hey, you ought to jump on the generosity, train, and let's all jump in and support the mission, that our staff is leading the way in that. After Easter, when we start talking about sexuality, we're not just talking to you all. We're like, hey, we all better make sure that this is what we're doing as well. And it's the same about this. Like, I'm not going to roll out here and ask you to develop relationships with people who either have no interest in God or Jesus, are not connected to our church family, if we are not having those same relationships. Hope that makes sense to you. So we have time to talk about our one. And I want you to hear, okay, I want you just to hear a couple of minutes of a really, really brief story of one relationship that I developed a few years ago, okay? So just check this out. You were giving it to me from the very beginning, and we kind of had a little back and forth going, and I was like, I like this person, and I did something with you that I hardly ever do with anybody.
I told you I'm a pastor. And I hardly ever tell anybody that because usually that ends the conversation. It's usually
But I'm
like,
glad you did. I changed my jokes.
You softened it a little bit.
Yes.
But it usually just makes things weird. And you said, really? Where? I said, I'm at the church across the street. And you said,
What?
there's a church across the street? And I walked you over to the window and I made you look out across the lake, and there it was on the side of that church across the street. And so that was kind of our beginning together. And I think my invitation was always really simple, like, I think you should come and check it out sometime.
That's it.
You know?
Just come and check it out.
Yeah, it's worth one try.
Come sit with me.
And I don't know. I probably had a card or something in my pocket, or I would leave them behind instead of a tip. or both.
That was the tip.
So, yeah. But I don't know how long it was. It was
about a year.
About a year, probably.
About a year,
yeah.
and that's when everyone came on a regular basis. Elizabeth, April, Dan.
A lot of our staff,
Yes. And
so you were getting a regular dose of it.
It was April that came a couple of days before, and she gave me, come sit with me, and we were lucky enough that it was a Saturday. You had so many services. There was Saturday at 4, there was Saturday at 5:30, there was a lot. And I was blessed to be able to get in there with my mom and come in, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
That's definitely all it took.
And you're still here.
Yes, because it's so great and so easy. I think that's what it is for me the most, is that it's just easy. And you leave feeling better than when you came in. And for me, that's an awesome feeling. That's a straight up fact. Yeah, I do enjoy it here. There's a lot to offer. And if you're looking for a home, this is it.
That's great. Yeah. I think your invitation, from what I can tell, your invitation to people is basically the one I gave to you.
It's just plain and simple. If you're looking for a place to feel good about yourself, and that's what it is. It's just comfortable. It's just easy. And I always say, not always, but most of the time, everything that you talk about is everyday life.
So, yeah. And that's now, I have interaction with somebody at the gym. We've kind of made the same connection, somebody that works there, and it's the same story. They found out from somebody else, actually, that I was a pastor. And so
and they go,
now they ask all the time, about church, or how is church, or hey, I'm going to try to rearrange my schedule. And I mean, my thing is the same every time. I think you should come and check it out at least one time.
That's it. That's all you have to do, just once.
Yeah, I have lots of conversations with people in our community all week long, and listen, just for me, my strategy is very, very simple. Hey, I think you should come and see for yourself. And you know what? It's not weird. Doesn't require charts or presentations or anything like that, and I found something I love and care about, and it might be what you're looking for. And I don't know where I came across this phrase recently, and I've been trying to figure out where I saw it, but the phrase was that in our current culture, evangelism, that's what we're talking about, has become terrorism. Meaning it's no longer safe for us to start sharing our faith with people. And can I just tell you that this right here is just so simple. Listen, I get it. For many of us, like what seems so casual to me seems uncomfortable to you. Or you're like, that's going to be unwanted, and it seems a little awkward. And I know all the things, right? I don't know much. I might not have the answers. I mean, these guys didn't know much at all, just what John the Baptist said. Philip seemingly only knows the name of the town Jesus is from. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know anyone. I'm new to faith. I'm new to church. If you're new to Jesus, can I just say this for a minute? You actually have better connections than anyone. Right? I mean, historically, and there's data on this, okay? The people most likely to invite a friend or a family member are people who have recently become followers of Jesus, less than 2 years, or recently been baptized. 90%, okay? 90% of us are the ones who are saying, would you come and see? So if you're new to church, right, if you're new to Jesus, and listen, you have better connections to people who are not here. And the data shows the longer that someone follows Jesus, like me, okay, we're 4 decades in, the fewer people we actually know who don't know Jesus. Like those of us who have been Christians for 2 years or more are actually the least likely to invite someone to come and see. And I get it. We got busy. We got it fixed. We got the question answered. We found some separation from some bad people, and maybe we needed that for a while, right? I love Jesus. Yes, I do, but I don't know or don't think about like them, okay? So let me tell you who's responding right now. I'll throw this out there for you. I just want to introduce you to this phrase I heard recently, which is the fat fringe, okay? The fat fringe is the phrase, okay? And I would consider this to be like low-hanging fruit. The fat fringe are the high percentage of people who say they're Christians, okay? I live in the South. My parents are strong Christians. I was baptized as a kid. I came to your Christmas Eve service. Okay, high percentage of people who say they're Christians, but they are not necessarily practicing. You got it? Okay, I believe in God or a version of God, but I'm not actively participating or practicing. They're literally the people I would say are disconnected and unfulfilled. And either they don't see that what they've known so far really makes a difference, or they've had bad experiences with those of us and our churches who say we're following Jesus. Okay? 32% of our country, okay, 32% of our country say they were attending church at all in 2024, which is literally up from previous years, okay? Only 17% say they're actively engaged. I've done the math. I got to tell you, there is no way it's even that high in Camden County. Oftentimes, okay, what we're talking about, these people, when approached with a, hey, would you just like to come and check this out? What we know is they are showing renewed interest, okay? Can I tell you what the secret sauce is, by the way? It's not me. It's you. Right? You actually have a better chance with your friend than I do. I can invite them if I see them at the gym or on a pickleball court or wherever, and for the most part, they're going to blow me off, even if they're open to Jesus, okay? They don't trust the church institution. They don't know if they trust me, but listen, they trust you. Okay, they trust you if you haven't been a terrible neighbor. So Jesus, okay, as an answer to what we're looking for or a problem or a question, it might not even be on their radar anywhere, but they might trust you enough to step towards it. When I talk to people in our lobby, when I go to our VIP lunch, I go, hey, how did you end up here? It's 9 out of 10, okay, say, I was invited by a friend. My realtor said, hey, you should come and check this out, okay? The neighbor said that. And when they finally say, okay, I'm going to sit with you, they were terrified of that, what they were getting into. Okay, they didn't know that, but if you said, I'm going to meet you there and you're not going to be alone, I'll pick you up, because they trusted you, they were able to do it. Now, I want to tell you one of the best opportunities right for this is right in front of us. It's not a guarantee, but listen, it's pretty much a cheat code of sorts, all right? And you got it. You were given an invite card when you came in. I think you ought to grab it, hold it, pray over it, use it to facilitate your simple invitation. And this is an all-the-time value for us, but it is especially an Easter value, okay? And here's my appeal to your next step, okay? If you have found Jesus and are following Jesus, okay, this is just one approach, would you please ask someone to come and see Jesus for themselves? Okay, would you just please do that? And here's the cheat code. 82% of people have said they would come to church if a friend invited them. Here's the tragedy. Only 2% of us ever invite anyone. So I want to show you something in your favor that comes at the end of this story. I think it's an encouragement to you. It is to me. Remember, Nathanael doesn't even believe Jesus, but he believes Philip, so he walks over to Jesus. Here's how this thing ends. It says, Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him, and he said about him, okay, here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. In other words, Jesus is going, okay, this guy, he's the real deal. We're about to get some real-time feedback, okay? You go, well, how do you know me? Nathanael asked. Well, before Philip ever invited you to come over here, when you were over there under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael goes, well, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You're the King of Israel. And I read that and I go, wow, that's Like, what is going on? That is a really big jump from, I saw you over there, to, okay, you're the one. Now, this is just an idea that people who are a lot smarter than me think is possible, okay? That the fig tree has always represented a popular place of prayer for students of Jewish culture. Okay, so the way these boys grew up, right, it's very possible that when Philip found his friend Nathanael, that he could have been interrupting his prayer time. Okay, even though he doesn't yet believe in Jesus, the prayer time would center around, I'm looking for the Messiah. Would you send the Christ? Help him, we want him to come now. It's possible that Nathanael is praying for the coming of the Messiah. Philip interrupts him and go, hey, I think we found the one. And Jesus says, guess what? I saw you over there under the fig tree. Maybe it all clicks for Nathanael. He goes, wow, I believe you're the one. Okay, here's what it tells me, and you should keep in mind too. That God is always at work in people's lives. Like he's always at work, whether you know that or not, whether you could ever see that or not, whether they ever admit that to you or not, okay? And it should really take a lot of the pressure off, in my opinion, to know that God is working in people's lives long before you ever came on the scene, but he will use people like you and me to help in the process to connect them to himself. Let me close with this question, okay? Could your one meet the one if they were just simply invited to come and see? Okay, not come see me, not come see the band, not come see, anything else. And here's what I think. Around here, we've come pretty predictable, okay? It's become pretty predictable with what we do and how we do it. And you know that you can count on that, okay? And every week, we're just trying to create a good environment, okay, without a lot of obstacles, so you can invite your friend to come, have an opportunity to meet Jesus. And other than the digital billboard we'll do before Christmas and Easter, I can tell you that our whole strategy boils down to this, okay? You have a friend, you have a family member, you have a coworker, you have a neighbor that you know, and you're offering a very simple invitation. Hey, just come and see for yourself, okay? It's not cold calls, it's not door to door, it is within relationship, okay? We are not selling, we are loving people who don't know the love of Jesus. Real invitation from one person to another person, and sometimes it goes like this. Listen, there's some stuff I just figured out. There's some stuff I'm still trying to figure out, and I just got it together a few minutes ago. But let me tell you the difference that it's made in me. You're not telling them what to think. You're not telling them what to believe. You're not telling them what they're going to experience. You are simply saying, come and see for yourself, and you are believing, okay? That if they could get in a room like this one or get around some people that you know, hear what you hear, see what you see, experience what you've experienced, they might just bump into Jesus like you have, and it might change their life. It might, okay? That all of our ones might actually meet the one, okay, if we would just simply invite them to come and see Jesus for themselves. That's it. That's my whole thing for this week. That you are invited to come and see Jesus for yourself. And once you've found him and you're following, hey, it's your responsibility that other people are invited to come and see Jesus for themselves. And I'm praying that a whole bunch of us would just pack together to do that here in our community. So God, today we just pray these things, and our prayer is very, very simple, God, where we feel weak, where we feel inadequate, God, where we feel awkward. God, would you just cover over those inadequacies in our life, and as we think about one or more than one you've placed in our path, God, one that just stands out to us, who really has questions, who's searching, who we know if they could just experience what we've experienced, it would change their life. God, we just pray that you bring that person to our heart, to our mind. Give us the courage to just make a very simple invitation and trust that you're already working in their life. And God, we just want to say that we love you. We're going to pray these things in your name this morning. Amen.